Hi, how's everyone doing today? I hope that this stream's going through. It looks like we're having some stream health issues. Yeah, it's saying stream health is in the red, which I guess is what you get when it's the only internet provider in town. You get whatever service they give you. Um, but yes, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about another preview for the Music Through the Ages virtual workshop talk that I'll be doing on Tuesday at 3, from 3 to 6 for Schoodic Arts for All. If you look down in the comments section or the description section of this video, you'll see that there is a place to sign up for it. You can go to the Schoodic Arts for All link. You can sign up for the workshop. There is also there's also a place for donations to the Winter Harbor Music Festival, which is always appreciated. But I wanted to again explain, just in case you haven't seen the first little preview talk. Basically, the concept of the workshop and class is to be a survey of music history. And you can see the dog in the background. If you look carefully, there's a dog walking back there. So you can see it adds to the informal aspect of these streams. But the basic idea of he's not interested in hearing me talk anymore, I guess. The basic idea of this class is that I'm just going to do a survey of music history, and it's a 3-hour talk. And like the dog back there, you're welcome to come and go as you please. I know 3 hours is kind of a long time to sit in one spot. We'll probably take a little bit of a break midway through. But I don't want to bore people with just going on and on about, oh, Beethoven did this and this date and all that stuff, which is interesting. Don't get me wrong. I would love to know and hear a lecture like that. But I wanted to try to bring a little bit more to it and bring just the opportunity to just listen to a lot of great music that you might not ordinarily hear. So I kind of fleshed out the beginning spectrum, like the medieval Renaissance aspect of it, and the ending part, which is the more contemporary 1900s stuff that we don't really talk quite as much about. So the last preview that I did a little bit of a preview of some of the Renaissance music that we'll be talking about. This preview is going to be a little snapshot of some of the more contemporary stuff that we're going to be talking about. I think it's also pretty hysterical that we still consider music written in the 1920s to be contemporary. It's kind of a misnomer, but some of the stuff from the 1900s that I'll be talking about. So the first little excerpt that I'm going to give you is a piece by an American composer. We don't usually talk that much about American composers, so it's good to throw one in. Henry Cowell. This piece is called The Banshee, which some of you may have heard that from Irish mythology. It was essentially a woman that would give this sort of blood-curdling cry that when the people would hear it, or people on the battlefield would hear this noise, it meant that their end had come. So you can kind of imagine the character that's going to be in this piece. Now, this piece was written after World War I, and much like now, people's spirits were down. So they began to experiment with less pleasant topics, and that's why this topic of the Banshee was chosen. Also, during this time, people began to think, oh, well, we've done so much with the piano and playing on the keys. What else can we do with this instrument that we haven't done before? So that led to what became known as extended technique. Now, extended technique is basically just anything that you do on your instrument or to your instrument that can be incorporated into your piece that is not what the instrument is intended to originally make that sound. So, like, I could be playing a piece and go, and that would be extended technique because I incorporated a little tap on the piano as part of the piece that I made up, which on the spot there. But it can be any sort of anything. So with this particular piece, this is extended technique inside of the piano. So basically, if you put the pedal down, I got the pedal down right now, I'm going to reach and touch these strings. Makes kind of a creepy noise. If I did that in the higher register, also makes kind of a creepy noise. So basically, this is kind of a compilation of those creepy noises that you can make on the piano. Let me play you a little bit of that. All right, we'll pause it right there. Hopefully you're able to hear. For the actual talk, it'll be done via Zoom, and Zoom has the screen share option. We don't really, there might be a screen share option for this. In fact, I think there is, but I don't feel like dabbling into that and messing everything up at the moment. But it'll be a screen share via Zoom, so you'll be able to see some of the performances over Zoom, as well as hear through your own speakers as opposed to through mine. The next little excerpt I'm going to do is the Berg Violin Concerto. I chose this one because it's an introduction to 12-tone music, which is a style of music that we don't really hear very much outside of classical halls because it's not very accessible in the sense of it creates a lot of dissonant sounds, which we're kind of conditioned to hear sounds like a thirds or fifths as what we call consonants, and we're conditioned to hear that as more pleasant. But then intervals like a second or like an augmented fourth, tritone, we're kind of conditioned to hear those as kind of unpleasant and unsettling. But those intervals occur a lot in 12-tone music because instead of using our scales that we normally create as the basis of music, and we'll go more into this a little in the actual talk, they use what's called a tone row, which is just a collection of all 12 notes on the keyboard. So those are the only 12 notes on the piano and in our whole system, because when you keep going, it's just the same ones, but higher. So basically they formulate a tone row, which is kind of like a melody that uses all of those notes in a row, and you can't use one, you can't keep going back. So once you've used a note, you have to keep going forward. And they kind of use this, and they once the row has been presented, it'll be flipped. Sometimes they'll take segments of it. So it's just basically a new compositional technique. You can kind of think of all of the things that they do to a tone row as things that would have been done to a theme. Like if you have a theme, like you can do a lot of things. You can make it in the minor. You can make it in the minor. You can play it backwards. I'm not going to bother trying to do that right now, but you could do all those things to a regular theme that you do to a tone row. And I chose the Berg Violin Concerto specifically because it has a strong harmonic underpinning. Now, what that means is, along with being conditioned to hear, consonants and dissonances and all that, we're also conditioned to hear a structure in our music, and that is that structure of a cadence, which this chord inevitably follows to this chord, and then you'll get chords in between sometimes. But whenever you get to this one, it means you're going back home to your tonic. So the tone rose that Bear uses kind of creates something that almost sounds like we have that original structure. And so now let's hear a little bit of that concerto.
Come on, America.
After we hear an
Let's
ad
road
about
trip.
getting back on the
Trade
road
up to
from
a new
Kia.
The CMP
And another
corridor
ad.
is
Hang on, let me mute this. This is what I get for not paying for my YouTube subscription. Okay, there we go. And we'll pause right there. We'll hear more of these pieces. Again, I also made a sort of a longer time just because I wanted to make sure we have enough time to hear more of the music that we're talking about as opposed to having to cut off. And everyone will also get a playlist, their very own playlist to leave with, so they can revisit some of the stuff that we talked about and might not have gotten through. It'll be complete with all sorts of car commercials and political ads because of YouTube. But I think you'll still enjoy it. I'd originally planned a CD, but I think a playlist during this time is an easier option. So again, if you go to the bottom of the description for this video, you'll be able to find a way to sign up for the class. And the deadline to sign up is tomorrow, so make sure to do that soon. I hope you enjoyed this little